We've got you covered. This is News 4 Tucson.
Breaking down U of A football, the Wildcats lose up at Oregon by a score of 34-6. I'm David Kelly, joined as always by Glenn Howell, U of A football class of 1985. And Glenn, just a lot of things to maybe kind of take away from this loss. And I'm going to start with the offensive line, which is just a mash unit right now. You've got a lot of injuries down there with Josh McCauley being out, Cody Creason being out. Jordan Morgan made his first ever start as a true freshman. You got a lot of first-year starters up there. And just too many mistakes from the offensive line that really crippled the offense in that game on Saturday. Penalties, broken protections, you had an errant snap, you name it. And right now that offensive line is just not good enough the way it's constructed to be able to compete against a team like Oregon. And then what you've got coming up in one of the best defenses in the country in Utah Saturday night.
Dave, it's difficult, and it showed at 6 points. That's what it was, 6 points that that's all we got. We couldn't really move the ball that well. We moved it at times, but we had to get better. We're going to get better as we go through this, looking at the film. And next week is going to be a heavy task. We got against Utah. They have one of the best defensive fronts, I think, in the conference.
What did you make of the way this game that Kevin Sumlin handled the quarterbacks? He came out after the ball game and said, really, after they got down by 2 scores, they just felt like the way that like what I just mentioned, the way the offensive line was performing to that point, that Khalil just might have been a better fit. And that was kind of the way that I saw it during the game. It's just, once you were down, it just kind of made more sense to put Khalil in there because it gave you a few more options offensively because of the situations that you were dealing with up front.
And Khalil's going to give you more options because he can run the ball. He can get elusive, but he wasn't really that elusive in that game. I saw him one time step up into the pocket, which was great. That was really, really nice that he stepped in the pocket and got 20, 25 yards. We're going to have to make some different decisions when we have the patchwork of an offensive line that we have right now. We're going to have to make some different plays, do some screens, slow these guys down, and send the ball, right and left, go sideline to sideline. We're going to have to do some different things because we're going to have to be able to give our offensive line a little help.
Now, and it all goes back to third down, Glenn. 5 of 17 in this ball game. And when the Wildcats early in the season were successful, the quarterbacks were making plays on third down, moving the chains, and we just did not see that really at all in the game on Saturday night against the Oregon Ducks. Now, defensively, we wanted to see things be more aggressive, and I thought that's what we saw. Despite the fact they gave up 34 points and maybe a few too many big plays, they were still playing at an aggressive pace.
I feel sorry for the defense because our punting was horrible. I mean, it was just abysmal.
Let's not even talk about that.
We have to talk about that because that is like 24 yards and 26 yards. We put our defense in such a bad situation. We could not flip the field. And that was a difficult thing for our defense to do. If we could have done that, there's no telling what could have happened in that game. Because it's difficult when you're kicking from your 20 and then you only kick the ball to the 40. That's ridiculous.
I ask myself, second play of the game, they get the big pass play to the legacy Wildcat, Johnny Johnson, you cringe every time you see him wearing the green. But how does that play happen? They talked about miscommunications after the Oregon State game in the defensive backfield. Now, in the second play, you have what was clearly a miscommunication or just Jase Whittaker really not understanding what he was supposed to do there. And I asked myself, how does that happen to a guy like Jase Whittaker, a senior? But when you start to really think about it and analyze it, he just really hasn't been playing that slot safety position that long. He's really been a boundary corner for his career here, and he's still learning what to do in that spot.
And Dave, if you look at the film, it looks like they were in cover 2, and he should have went straight back, and it just made a mistake. There's an honest mistake that the kid made, and Chase has been playing his butt off. I mean, all these guys have been playing hard. And I was really impressed with the effort. The effort is good. I like the effort. It wasn't like we laid down and we were out there playing physical. We were playing aggressive. and that's what we have to do. We have to be able to fight. This is going to be character-building games the next couple of games, and then get ready for ASU. ASU is on the downswing too. So that game that we have against ASU is going to be our bowl game.
It might be a combined 13 straight losses between the two teams coming into that ball game.
Bad.
But still, we're still seeing things, Glenn, that we saw in week 1. I want to take a look at this 3rd and 11 play here, Glenn, and just you've got Lorenzo Burns, who I think has probably been the best. If I had to call my defensive MVP right now, it's Lorenzo Burns. But he does not touch this receiver off the line here, Glenn.
Yeah, we have to be more physical on the receivers. The receivers are just, I just can't believe it. Some of these guys are running free. And they go right by some of our guys. They got to just give them a shove. And in the NCAA rules, you can't touch the guys until the ball is thrown. So that's the rule. So it's not like the NFL where it's like you have 5 yards and that's it. You can't touch them after 5 yards. We can touch them when it's down the field if the ball's not in the air.
Yeah, and I think you look at some of the other big plays, the flea flicker. I thought Christian Roland Wallace read the play well, but for some reason he just kind of lost it there for a minute, that's all it takes for the guy to get behind you and you bust that play. And then the Tony Fields play, I thought he defended that really well. That was just a great throw and a great catch.
And that's why Herbert's where he's at. That's why he's one of the best top quarterbacks out there. He threw it right in the bucket. And then, we had some plays too where Khalil threw a great ball to Brightwell, and I understand what Brightwell was thinking because he was going to get nailed because that was I felt the footsteps when that thing was coming, but we still got to make those plays.
There's been the talk that this feels like the John Malkovich situation with what's going on right now with this program. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I mean, I wasn't around, so I don't know what the John Malkovich situation felt like, but I know that whole situation ended with a player mutiny. I don't get the sense that that's what we're seeing with this, but losing, I think, is I think when people say that, I think it's coming from a fan standpoint that, what are we going to expect Saturday when that team comes back to play? I think it's going to be a lot like what we saw at homecoming. I think there might be 30,000 people there, and there might not be a lot of energy Saturday night.
I don't think there'll be a lot I hope, let me say this. For one thing, this is not like the Malkovich situation. I'm going to tell you that right now. I was there and I was around the team then. That was a horrible situation. This is not like that at all. I think Kevin Sumlin and those guys are not even close to what was happening. And this game showed me that they were playing with energy. They were playing with a little bit of fight. And that's what I want to see. And then the next game, when we see this Utah game, that's what we have to see. It's got to step up another notch. And that's what I think we're going to see.
All right, one more shot at home, senior day, and let's hope that we can give those seniors something to go out on. I had penciled this game in as a win for Arizona at the beginning of the season.
It's a trap game for them.
Exactly. They came in here a few years ago. I remember that was one of Rich Rod's biggest wins was when Utah came in. I believe they were ranked 6th or 10th or something like that, and the U of A knocked them off. So it's possible. They always seem to come here at the end of the year, and the Wildcats always seem to give them a good game. We'll be back, and we will preview that game for you on Saturday morning.